attention because after that war ended, the Russians basically became pretty much an enemy to our country, and it stayed that way, Right on up
so
to
Berlin and the French Connection in Europe. Okay. So no, I never had that in school that I can remember, and I didn't have it in my military history while I was in the Navy because I was too busy working to learn my history. So you're saying the Cold War would have been 45, 50, or during...
Absolutely. It started right after just when Germany was occupied, it was already underway. The Russians built, as you know, they built the wall that Reagan wanted them to take down, and they were very distrusting of everything and everybody, and the Russians always have been. In their early history, the Yellow Hordes, some people call them, the people from the Chinese or area over there, actually, Russia was a vassal state to them and had to pay tribute, and the title of a czar, the Russian czar, was a title given to the person that was responsible for collecting the tribute throughout the country, extracting gold and silver and having it ready when the Asians came back to collect. So they were actually a vassal country for a long time, and it I guess it's in their psyche even to this day. They're very distrusting type people. At least that's my take on them, just observing.
No, I'm glad you're telling us because you lived through it and you know what's in your psyche yourself as to how you relate to it. And that's important to let down how humans think about it as they live through it, because I told you I don't remember that part. I mean, I remember generic stuff. I've got generic stuff in my head. But, where my history starts in Europe when we had the underground, and then I guess it goes into the movies. I'm embarrassed to say, but I grew up watching movies on TV. We had cowboys and Indians, and then we also had, all the Vietnam War. We had all those war movies, where they lived in the trenches and stuff. But my intelligence doesn't start until with London, who is the agent in charge, I guess, in European theater for the intelligence community in that time, and he was from that time, and he told us about the intelligence of the. How we started working with the people in France and recovering people from Germany and all the things that were underground. And my husband found a lot of the stuff that Hitler had in the underground and, turned it in and stuff. But we learned intelligence that it came back from, like, trains and helping people escape. And so that's when I come into it, which is pretty late in the game, but we still had to learn in Europe. The intelligence community was based on the old French. You remember that? You probably know what I'm talking about, escaping, because my husband helped a physicist escape in the 80s, or he was in 80 to 93. Yeah, it was the 80s. So escape a physicist that had plans from the wall, Berlin, before the wall was down. So he had to go over like you do the bridge and, get somebody out of that, before. And then he was there when the wall came down. But those people told us they had back then where you'd go into a restaurant and go into a bathroom for real, flush your commode, and it puts you down to the basement like an elevator in a certain stall.
Yeah.
He talked about the underground, but you didn't. Did you get to go off the ship in Europe in the Mediterranean?
Yes,
did you get to?
We did. One of the more interesting cruises was I'm trying to think. I'm trying to remember which ship I was on.
Offshore leave, right? You get to go offshore.
Yeah, we operated with the NATO forces.
Yeah.
And we went into Portsmouth, England. And I remember coming from our ship and walking across the battleship Iowa in order to get out to the pier to go on Liberty. And I found it interesting, too. I was on shore patrol, which is military police, as you know. And we reported to a military station, and the people in charge of it were British. And the man I was assigned with for my area of town was a Canadian. And I kind of got a kick out of that, you know, with all the different cultures that were there, and the Allies were there. And I remember that.
When you were there, when you were doing shore patrol, now when we did it, we had to put on the black armband, and then on our shoes or boots, we had to put those leg coverings, leggings. Did you have to do that?
Absolutely.
You did. So it's that old. Wow, that's I never knew that. They didn't tell us that. So
we did that.
Wow.
And I've stood shore patrol in Italy and France also. I found it interesting. In Italy, they have the Carabinieri, if I'm pronouncing that right. It's a quasi-military national police force that is in the air, ground, and everywhere, sea. I was paired with one of the Carabinieri, and we went over to
international police force. Is it international like NATO, or is it separate?
No.
I had a friend that was in it. Go ahead.
It was an Italian national police force. And
Italian.
Yeah, it was a quasi-military force. This was way back. And we went to their barracks, and I remember as a young man, and the different sandwich meats that they had, and the smell of their kitchen, and the extremely low price. I bought stuff like they would buy it. But I do remember that, and the cheese and the wonderful meats and breads that they had. And then we went out on patrol, this one man and myself, and it was uneventful as far as just being with him, you know, and the experience of it was kind of neat. Thought it was.
You didn't have to bang any heads and get them. You didn't have to get them out of the. You didn't have to bang any heads getting them out of the bars.
No, I didn't have to do that. Had to look at a few people kind of hard, but I didn't have to whack any of them. I was just hoping they would respect my my little band around my arm enough. It was.
Did they make you wear a helmet? Did you
no. In those days, we just wore a regular sailor hat, you know, the little white hat.
Yeah, the little white one. You didn't have to wear the folding one. I think the folding one came back in when I was in. I had to wear both. It seems like. But did you never had a fold one like the Army had? You know, where you fold up like an envelope.
No, we didn't have those in my time. I know they may have come in after I left the Navy.
I had a beret too, but you didn't have. Did you have? So
no,
you only had the white one where you could put water in it, and you know,
it's just the regular white hat. You know, that was what I had.
Did you have the jeans and the blue shirts? Did you?
Yes.
Did
right. Yeah.
Okay. I had to wear all
the regular blue shirt and the jeans, and then we had the white uniforms, and then the wool, navy wool, bluish black uniforms.
Yep, I had that too. Dress blues and your working uniform, the blue jeans and the blue denim shirt and the boots. It's so funny. It's traditional. So it's funny that you were way back and then all the way up to the 80s. Now I don't know what they have. We've got a whole nother 20-year, from 80s to the 2000 and 2000 to 21. I guess
there was a time. There was a time when the Defense Department. I'm trying to think of the person in charge of it.
Lord, don't ask me.
They changed. I believe it was in the Carter administration. They changed the uniforms for. I believe they put them in suits similar to what the chief petty officer would wear, and then later on they stopped that, if I'm remembering correctly, and they put.
I never had the sailor suit. While I was in the second time, I didn't have I heard later on they gave them back too. So
yeah, they
but
did.
I didn't have
they brought
the
it
women's.
back.
Yeah, that was the one that they brought it back after I got out, probably.
I got
in 97.
That's interesting. Very interesting. Your background is interesting.
Well, so is yours. This is about you. But I'm just thinking you mentioned when they changed the uniform, because I didn't have to wear the men's. I wore a skirt and a shirt, which was weird. Like office stuff.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about your music now, which Richard may not know about. But let's talk about although I could talk to you for hours about the Navy, because I love the Navy, and you're making me reminisce, and I'm sure a lot of that weren't in the Navy don't know, or if they're reminiscing too, So that's historical. We should find out when you said Carter. I wonder why they bothered to change it. Some people must have been wanting to do that, but that's something historically we'll have to look up.
That did occur, and then it changed back in later times. As far as my music goes, when I was a kid, my grandpa was a banjo player, and my dad didn't have a banjo, but he could play some. He played it left-handed, and it kind of appealed to me. And Mother was working in a mill, or like a turfing mill or something in Chatsworth there, and she saved the money and bought me a banjo, and I didn't have anybody to teach me anything, but I figured out a way to tune it and to learn a couple of little tunes, and I'd take it with me. And when I was working in the Runaway Boy part of my story, I worked at a skating rink in Chatsworth, and slept under the skating rink, and then I was a skate boy in business hours, and then put on skates for tips, and then swept and cleaned the hardwood floor after we closed. And I had that banjo with me. And so one year, the man from Milton, Pennsylvania, named Jack Carson, a little short, white-headed man, and probably in his late 60s, maybe early 70s. One year he came back and he asked about me, and he called for me by name. I didn't even know that he knew my name. That's some of the other boys, and they came and told me. So I went back over, and we set the skating rink back up, and so I was continued sleeping like that under the rink, and then he moved to Dalton, Georgia, and I just went with him, and it was just unstated. I went with him, but at that point I was sleeping in the back, or sleeping in the front of his Kaiser automobile.
How old were
sleeping
you?
Up. Yeah, that was luxury to me. Pardon me?
But how old were you when you ran away from home? Because I don't have that.
I'm trying to remember, probably 11 to 13 years old, in that range.
Now, how many kids did y'all have? But y'all were dirt poor, right?
Oh, yeah. Mother had 11 children. 2 passed on when they were infants. And
that's like in my family. Yeah.
Yeah.
My grandma had a two-cab phone.
We had a large family.
All right. So we're